Bob Dylan has just won the 2016 Nobel Prize in Literature. The Swedish Nobel Academy honored the American musician for having created new poetic expressions within the great American song tradition. It went on to call his music poetry for the ears. Well, for more now on this very surprising win, I'm joined on the set by Phyllis Cohen, the owner of Berkeley Books here in Paris. Hi, Phyllis.
Hello.
You were certainly surprised by this win, weren't you?
I was. I was hoping that you would hear me shout, "Holy cow," just outside the room here. Very surprised. He's a surprise laureate.
Why?
Why is he surprised? Well, there are no novels, there are no plays, there are no short stories. What is most interesting from Bob Dylan, but incredible song lyrics, which have had quite a broad influence in the world. What's interesting to me is the broadening of the term literature to include song lyrics in the American song tradition, which is extraordinarily deep and rich. So that's a good surprise in a way.
Is this a first, do you know, for the Nobel Committee? Have there been other songwriters in the past?
To my knowledge, this is the first prize that's gone to a songwriter, which is the most interesting to me. I personally am a fan of Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and have been reading his works for many years. Was hoping that he get the prize finally for his revolutionary theater and revolutionary works and language and translation. But well, Bob Dylan, he won the prize. It's for him this year.
Do you think more traditional authors, more traditional lovers of literature might be angry with this award?
Angry, I'm not sure. I can speculate. I mean, Bob Dylan, I don't believe he needs any more accolades. I admire his work, his lyrics, but I'm pretty sure he has had plenty of accolades. Inspiring anger? Perhaps, in some writers who have been overlooked, and there's so many women who've been overlooked, traditionally. Something like 85% of the laureates have been men, 50% women. So perhaps some anger out there.
Is the Nobel important for authors? Can it really change an author's career? Can it make or break a career?
I think it's tremendously important for authors, particularly authors who are not well known outside of their countries. For me, for example, as a reader from youth, it's a way for me to discover the world, literature and translation. So when a writer who is not well known in the Anglophone world wins the prize, can change his or her life incredibly in terms of access, literary translation, and access to the work.
And there's something that we haven't mentioned yet, but that it is important to point out as well to our viewers, is that this is a monetary prize as well. The Nobel laureate for literature, like all the Nobel laureates, gets $900,000 or about 820,000 euros. Again, money that perhaps a struggling author might have been able to use more than someone like Bob Dylan.
Agreed. I think Bob Dylan looks after his welfare very well. He does very well. So this is certainly not something that is needed by Bob Dylan. This is a very good point. It can potentially change a life. Provide money for starting up theaters or getting more books in translation. That's definitely can change an unknown or a writer's life.
And just to wrap up, Phyllis, do you think you will look at Bob Dylan differently now, perhaps, now that he's won this Nobel Prize for literature?
Well, not particularly. I mean, as I said, I've admired his song lyrics for quite a while. I do have one of the 2 books that he has published in my store. I have Chronicles, which is the first volume of his memoirs, which is an interesting read. But perhaps he'll write more books now to live up to the prize. Who knows?